Toronto, a city of the past and the future. And at its heart, a museum with secrets dark and strange. Tales of mummified babies.
I think it's a question of trying to understand what it is to be human.
Brutal massacres. Forgotten weapons of war.
Oh, that's amazing!
And a disappearing dinosaur.
Guinness had a world record for mounting dinosaurs. That would have been it.
Secrets hidden in plain sight inside the Royal Ontario Museum. It's an eye-popping Canadian landmark, a national treasure chest, and a place of mystery. This is the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto, the ROM. For every object on display, thousands more lie hidden in back rooms, far from public view. Enter the Hall of Ancient Egypt, and the hairs stand up on the back of your neck. You feel the presence of the ghosts. How did they live? And how did they die? If only the mummies could speak. In a darkened room deep below the public galleries, it's as if they do.
So here you can see, Gail, the bones.
Down here, they seem to whisper their stories to Egyptologist Gail Gibson and bioarchaeologist Andrew Nelson, telling them they weren't all pharaohs and princes.
People often think that mummies were only elite people, that they were only the rich could afford mummification. That's not quite true. In fact, people would try to do their best for their friends and relatives at whatever social level they were.
Gibson and Nelson used computerized tomography, the CAT scan, to help them piece together the past lives of the mummies.
We have a lady we call Justine, because we don't know her real name. She has recently been CAT scanned, and we have learned that she was really, really a beautiful woman, a really lovely young woman, probably in her mid-20s. She'd had some children already, no obvious cause of death, a lower class method of embalming, a woman probably just on the lower edge of what would pass as a middle class in ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptians lived a much shorter period of time than we do, usually 35, 40 years. And it's really interesting to see what was it that cut their lives short. We have a lady, Jedma Atazank, who we know exactly where she was found. We know a great deal about her because we've had CAT scans of this lady, and we know that she died at about the age of 35 from a dreadful abscess, something that would be cured nowadays with a little penicillin, a little tetracycline, no problem. I think it's nice to find out what life was really like for ordinary people in the past. There were a lot more of us than there were of kings and queens.
Pharaoh or farmer, there is one kind of mummy no one expects to see. Babies.
Bam.
Everything about these tiny bundles is a mystery.
Alas, we have no idea how these two baby mummies arrived at the ROM. They could have been given to us by someone. They could have been found in somebody's basement. I suspect they came back as part of a cabinet of curiosities. People could bring them back almost as souvenirs in the 1820s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It was the thing to do. It was fashionable. My friend bought a mummy. I'll buy a mummy as well.
It was a mummy craze. At its peak, more than a century ago, collectors would display newly acquired mummies in their homes and invite friends to ghoulish unwrapping parties. Today, archaeologists and Egyptologists show more respect when probing the secrets of the ancient dead, especially the mummies of children.
I think we need to care because this is a human baby. I think it's a question of human sympathy. I think it's a question of trying to understand what it is to be human. These are us at another time period.
Using the tools of modern forensic archaeology, Andrew and Gail hope to learn more about these children. The mummified remains of infant number 1 are in poor condition. Andrew suspects the tiny body was pulled apart during a grave robbery.
My bet would be that that's a quick grab out of the tomb.
Ah, astonishing.
Infant number 2 appears to be in better shape.
We can use the calcification of the teeth to establish the age of this individual. This one's about 9 months old.
But Andrew sees something else on the scan, something strange that shouldn't be there.
Do you see this? This is something long and rectangular that is not bone, all right? That does not belong there. And it goes right, it's been jammed into the thoracic cavity and right up into the cranial base.
At first glance, it suggests the child met a violent end. Killing unwanted children was accepted practice in many ancient societies. But not in Egypt.
The ancient Egyptians realized how vulnerable babies were, and they were most anxious to protect mothers and babies in any way they could. Their world was full of dangers. Ours is too, but we call those dangers germs and viruses and diseases. They call them evil spirits. They call them the evil eye.
To protect children and mothers, ancient Egyptians carried amulets, charms against the forces of darkness.
This is a strange character called Bess, and he's a very scary-looking little monster. But his job is to protect children and to protect mothers at the moment of childbirth. And so here we have the goddess Taweret. She has the belly of a pregnant woman, but the head of a hippopotamus, the arms and legs of a lion, the tail of a crocodile. She is ferocious and tough, and she will protect the mother and protect the babies to come. And for an ancient Egyptian, if your baby could have something like this in his cradle, or a mother could be wearing some of these around her neck, that gave them a little bit of extra confidence.
Even after death, parents took steps to ensure the gods would protect their children. This is evident on the shroud in which the first infant was wrapped.
So what am I looking at? Tell me about this.
It's a really nice little thing. These people couldn't afford anything fancy.
Right.
So this baby has a little bit of folk art, and you can see this is a very, very rough woven piece of linen.
Right. What?
There is the child himself,
Okay.
shown as a mummy.
Right.
And this is the god Anubis behind him. And this is probably one of his parents making offerings, giving him pure water and food. And this is the goddess Isis, one of the most important goddesses. And even she is mourning for the loss of this little baby. So this is a nice little image of the baby now safe in the arms of the god.
If the Egyptians took such great care to preserve the bodies of their children, why does this infant have a stake in its skull? Andrew doesn't suspect foul play. He believes it was inserted after the child died.
And they used this piece of wood to make the head stay in the proper relationship with the rest of the body. So that's really interesting to see that.
The wood kept the body intact during the mummification process, making it a final loving act by grief-stricken parents. So what really killed the child? Can the secret be revealed?
Perhaps the best clue is the fact that he looks like he is well nourished. Whatever it was that killed him was probably something acute, an infection that came on very suddenly, something from drinking bad water, or some E. coli from infected meat or some infected fruit.
An Egyptian baby this age would have been nursed.
Right, but there was some supplementation of goat milk and honey after about 6 months. So if the goat's milk was carrying infection, that may well have been the sort of thing that would do them in quite quickly.
Oh my, poor little fellow.
The verdict? These tiny mummies may have been loved to death, killed not by violence or neglect, but by milk and honey fed to them by caring, affectionate parents. A museum's treasures seem all the more special when they're one of a kind. But hidden away at the Royal Ontario Museum are tens of thousands of treasures. Most of them are precisely measured and catalogued. But some objects and their purpose remain a secret.
So these objects are one of the mysteries of archaeology of the Middle East in the medieval period. They're found in archaeological sites in Egypt and Syria and Iran from about the 12th to the 13th century.
Experts at the world's greatest museums don't know what to make of the mystery objects. They're another museum secret.
This was not just an ordinary vessel. It was made for some enigmatic purpose that we just do not really know at this moment.
Rob Mason hopes to find out once and for all.
Now, to do that, it would be inappropriate to go messing around with an 800-year-old artifact like this. So what we've done is made replicas of them. There are two hypotheses we can test. One, it was used as the base of a water pipe, a nargila, used for smoking probably hashish at the time.
It's a theory to be tested not at the museum, but here at the Hot Box Cafe and Rocherama. First, let's find out, or be reminded, how a water pipe is supposed to work.
And essentially, you would just light the bowl and then choke from the hose at the same time.
By choke, you mean inhale, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would inhale from the end of the hose. So you see, the smoke was drawn down from the bowl through the water, which cools the smoke, removes a small amount of the tar, and it's breathed in through the hose, and that's essentially how it works.
So I was thinking, given your expertise, could you see how this could work for a smoking purpose? But I would rather you use not the one made in about 1200, but the one made last week.
So, is it an ancient bong? It seems to work, but Rob's not convinced.
I still have one major problem with that. How comfortable is that in your hand?
Not terribly, it's a little bit heavy.
It's rather heavy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when we see these illustrated, they were having relatively light vessels like this. So if you can have a light vessel, why would you have such a heavy vessel? And so I think there's possibly a more likely hypothesis, which I'd now like to test.
This test needs plenty of open space because Rob thinks the objects are designed to explode.
One of the interesting things about these is when we find them, they tend to be whole or really broken. This looks like the impact came from the inside. There's no doubt that in the 12th and 13th century, they knew of the component materials of black powder, or gunpowder. And really, there's no reason to assume it was not known in the Middle East. And many people have said, oh, it's decorated, so therefore it can't be a bomb. I spoke to a munitions expert about whether these might be hand grenades. And before I'd even mentioned the decoration, he said, are there any lines incised in it? And so he was saying, like a modern hand grenade, this will enable it to break into small pieces for shrapnel.
If the mystery object is a grenade, it should explode into blast patterns roughly matching those on the fragments. So Rob's going to blow up one of his replicas and do some post-explosion detective work.
And another thing we'll try, we'll see the effect on a watermelon.
All right, so we got a victim.
Our victim. So this will show what the effect of the shrapnel would be on an innocent bystander, or not so innocent bystander.
So this will be your guys' safe distance here. Ready to light? Let it go.
Go, let it go.
Okay, lighting.
Lighting.
look at this growth. Well, one of those watermelons is definitely regretting the day it was purchased by this group.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. There was a nice orange kind of fiery flag. Had quite the range.
Look at that watermelon.
And you got some big chunks.
Look at that watermelon blood.
What's amazing is
all over it.
here's actually a piece of shrapnel that was a few feet away that actually has bits of watermelon on it.
Nasty. See that? If that was a human being, that would have been covered with blood.
Yeah,
And these other pieces would have been embedded in him.
yeah. And it definitely was designed to kill.
I imagine with tightly packed men as well, say besieging a fortress or something like that, and you just drop it amongst them. And that explosion in tightly packed men must have been completely devastating.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have to say, this experiment's actually been really quite conclusive. If you look at the ones we blew up, you can see how the pressures come from inside and spalled outwards. And when we look at the old one, this one which has been broken apart, you can see it's broken outwards. So this was a bomb.
The mystery is solved, the secret revealed, with a satisfying bang. The Dinosaur Gallery. When it comes to the stars of this show, size matters. Here, monsters from more than 150 million years ago come in three sizes: big, bigger, and humongous. You wouldn't think any museum could ever lose a dinosaur, but the Royal Ontario Museum did. One of the biggest was here, and then it was gone. What happened? It's the summer of 2007. The museum is close to completing a $250 million transformation called the Crystal. The building's main attraction will be the new Dinosaur Gallery. But just 10 weeks from the grand opening, it's empty. Curator David Evans is assigned the task of filling it.
They wanted a real show-stopping piece. We didn't have one of these giant dinosaurs called sauropods, and it was clear that's what we needed to anchor the exhibit.
Sauropods are among the most gigantic creatures ever to walk the earth. 100 metric ton vegetarian monsters, more than 30 meters long, from tail to tiny head. 150 million years ago, they roamed what is now Western North America. With the clock ticking, David boards a flight to Wyoming's Badlands, a well-known dinosaur dig site and his best shot at finding a sauropod skeleton. He finds one before he lands.
I happened to pick up a very recent publication by renowned sauropod expert Jack McIntosh.
A few pages in, David's jaw drops. McIntosh describes an almost complete sauropod skeleton that was given to the ROM in 1962. There's even a specimen number, ROM 3670.
And as soon as I realized that, as soon as I saw that number, so I just wanted to turn the plane around right there.
David rushes back to the museum. Could it be true? Could there really have been a sauropod here all this time?
I started pulling an end of an arm bone out of a drawer, 30 feet away, another end of an arm bone, and realized, hey, these are both from the same side, they're both from the same bone, you know, maybe they go together. And sure enough, I put the two together and they fit perfectly, like a jigsaw puzzle. And over the course of about an hour, I had assembled over half the major limb bones. At that point, I was getting pretty excited.
David suspects this is the skeleton of the sauropod Diplodocus. It's a huge find. The bones, in the museum for more than 40 years, were scattered during various moves of the ROM's collections. Will these pieces fit together into a complete skeleton? And if they do, will they go together in time? It's a job for Peter May and his display team. He's racing the clock. The new galleries will open in just 8 weeks.
When we picked the fossil material up at the ROM, it was in probably 10 drawers, and I'd say 2,500 pieces. We sort of went from a custom work process into a full-scale assembly line. You know, where we had the forging going on of the armatures, we had other people doing the welding, we had the grinding going on. So one person was involved with every aspect of the armature. We had a gang working on it.
As the skeleton takes shape, David realizes these are not the bones of a sauropod diplodocus, as he first thought, but something better than that. Much better. This is a Barosaurus, one of the rarest of all dinosaurs.
Barosaurus is known from only a few specimens, and most of them are really scrappy. There's about 5 specimens that are known, and it turns out that the ROM specimen that we had right here under our noses for so long turns out to be the second most complete specimen of Barosaurus ever found.
But even so, only 40% of the skeleton has been found. For the other 60%, they improvise with casts.
We made an educated guess based on parts of the skeleton that we do have and filled in the missing bits with Barosaurus's closest known relative, which is Diplodocus. One of the major parts that is missing is the head. A head of Barosaurus has never been found. And so on our mounted skeleton, we have a Diplodocus skull as a stand-in for the unknown skull of Barosaurus.
David now has a crucial decision to make.
How the necks were oriented is still a mystery, and it's argued about actually with quite fervor in paleontology.
Elsewhere, at other museums, the Barosaurus is posed with its head held dramatically high. But David suspects that even the mightiest dinosaur heart couldn't pump blood 10 meters straight up. And so, in the final hours before the crystal opens, David poses his Barosaurus with its neck stretched horizontally.
I'd say if Guinness had a world record for mounting dinosaurs, that would have been it.
The new gallery draws one of the biggest crowds in the museum's history, with the magnificent Barosaurus at the center of it all. And David is still finding this dinosaur's bones in the basement rooms of the ROM.
It just keeps coming out of the woodwork, you know? It seems like the never-ending dinosaur.
If you find that skull in there,
that would be a real find.
The ROM's Barosaurus may yet turn out to be the most complete specimen in the world. The medieval galleries of the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto bristle with weapons of war. Objects both beautiful and deadly. In the Middle Ages, the weapon you brought to battle could mean the difference between glorious victory or bloody defeat. What was the one you could count on to do the job every time?
Ha! Good question. The crossbow, certainly the European crossbow.
Curator Corey Keeble is a specialist in arms and armor.
One of the fascinating things about the crossbow is it was ubiquitous. It was used everywhere. There was hardly a castle, there was hardly a town, a city, anywhere in Europe that did not have an arsenal or an armory filled with crossbows.
By the end of the 15th century, the crossbow was the last word in high-tech weaponry. Hands down, the most important killing device on the battlefields of Europe. But its days were numbered. Within just a few years, the crossbow all but disappeared, replaced by a lethal new weapon, the gun. Today, it seems obvious that the firearm would replace the bow, changing the face of war forever. But 500 years ago, when they were new and unproven, why were warriors so quick to throw down their crossbows and pick up firearms?
This is a matchlock mechanism.
Corey is going to unravel this museum secret on a firing range. Marksman Andre Reed is ready with a gun. All we need now is a crossbow, like the one kept under wraps by ROM conservator Susan Stock.
This is really exciting. It's like opening a bottle of vintage champagne, only I think it's a little bit better. Let's put it this way, no vintage champagne is this old. It was bought in 1909, so it's one of the earliest acquisitions in our European arms and armor collection.
It's from the late 15th century, and among the last used in battle before firearms took over, making it ideal for Corey's test.
It's actually very heavy.
Well, we might as well put it down.
I'm gonna put it down. It's amazing that soldiers could carry this and God knows what paraphernalia. Corey, have you ever been able to try yourself at firing a crossbow?
No, I wouldn't try to actually use something like this because it's very fragile.
That.
But even in terms of modern crossbows, no, I have never had the opportunity to use a crossbow at all. It's been a case of looking at them and not actually handling them.
The plan is to recreate this crossbow. That means finding out how it was made.
It's never been x-rayed, and it would really be great if we could get an x-ray of the side so that we could actually see the inside workings of the trigger mechanism here, and also if we could x-ray in some way the craniquin.
So stabilizing.
Oh, wow.
The level of detail.
The level of detail is just amazing.
Open.
And there it is, plain as day. The inner workings of the craniquin. It's a kind of winch, allowing the archer to draw the bowstring smoothly and easily. Without it, he'd need to pull back the equivalent of 158 kilograms of weight to load the bow. The craniquin reduces that weight to 3.5 kilograms.
Who would have imagined that after 530-odd years, somebody would actually see the inside of a gearbox that has never been analyzed before?
Corey's next step, a visit with weapons builder Chris Warrilow.
This is the only way, practically, that you can get any kind of comparison with the actual power of a real crossbow. It's as simple as that.
I am looking forward to this project because I have never built a crossbow that is as powerful as this one will be.
Oh, really?
So I'm looking forward to the challenge.
The real principle is to follow the basic methodology, as it were, the actual spanning of the bow, the functioning of the bow, and if we make a few adjustments in terms of the third millennium, then we shouldn't be doing too badly. It's the principle of the thing, as they say.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Great.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Wow, good morning. This is absolutely fabulous.
Excellent. I'm glad you approve.
Oh, very much so. The bow is wonderful, and it's nice to see that the bridle, all of this is, it's as good as a 15th century original. This is
I
amazing.
did my
correct,
best.
yes.
What about the bolts?
The bolts,
Do you want me to hold it?
please, sir. The bolts are period as well. They're made out of hardwood.
Oh my
with,
gosh! You know, we
tips.
actually have some from 16th century originals in the museum. And these are as close to the originals as anything that I could possibly imagine. This is, again, this is what makes an exercise like this fun. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. This is the treat.
I am very much looking forward to see whether or not this crossbow will put that bolt through our suit of armor.
500 years ago, the battlefield was dominated by armored knights on horseback, defending heavily fortified castles. But in the late 15th century, gunpowder came to the battlefields of Europe, and everything changed. Cannons destroyed castle walls and could kill several armored men at once. Warfare rapidly changed from the realm of the armored few to formations of unarmored thousands. And a well-armed infantry became the dominant force on the battlefield. As armies grew in size, so did the need to arm more and more men. Some historians speculate that cost may have been a factor in the rise of the firearm.
By the 1400s, late 1400s, early 1500s, we find that firearms have developed to the degree where they are useful as weapons of war. They're cheap and easy to make.
But Corey doesn't believe cost alone brought down the crossbow. He suspects the secret will be revealed by comparing two important aspects of any weapon: rate of fire and killing power.
I'll demonstrate loading this and see whether we can send an arrow down range.
Oh, wow.
Crank it back.
Chris uses a windlass instead of a cranaquin, a safer option when building replicas. Otherwise, this bow is a match to the original and will perform the same.
Back off the windlass a bit.
Using a crossbow in war would be a very tense, very dramatic action.
Make certain the crossbow bolt itself is set right up against the string, otherwise it will misfire. Nestle up against the shoulder, point, and shoot.
The time to load, aim, and fire, 57 seconds.
This is a matchlock smoothbore. It's a muzzle loader, horn that's hanging around your
Andre's
waist.
musket is from the same period as the crossbow.
You load down the powder. This is a 69 caliber ball, lead ball with a cloth patch. You drive the ball home. Use a priming powder to load the pan. Close the safety. Now you introduce the ignition source.
In battle would have you scared out of your wits. How fast could you load without panicking and running for your life?
Open the safety, and we're ready to go.
The time to load, aim, and fire the gun, 54 seconds. So the gun doesn't have a significant advantage over the bow.
Our windlass here.
Next, a test of firepower against armor.
In the 1400s, crossbow bolts were used to proof the efficacy of armor plate. So that in the 1400s, if you were wearing a complete harness and plate, you might actually emerge from a battle unscathed. Oh, amazing. Oh.
The verdict? Both do some damage. It's a draw.
This is better than getting this stuff out of books, isn't it?
As fewer and fewer knights appeared on the battlefield, the ability to pierce armor became less important. So the next test will be on the unprotected soldier.
That's the consistency of a human head.
Oh! Oh! Unbelievable. Absolutely fantastic.
While the gun does the most damage, both it and the crossbow are lethal to the unprotected. So if it wasn't killing power, some other factor must have dealt the final blow to the crossbow. The answer lies in the soldiers themselves. Like a recruit of the 15th century, Corey Keeble is not a trained warrior.
Well, yes, I think we hit the shed.
Yes.
What a wonderful feeling.
Just reach around and...
He misses with the crossbow, but with the firearm,
Hey, look at that!
There you go.
There's one melon that's not going to live to sell the day, right?
Thank you so much.
One melon that's not going to lose the day, right?
Well, what I found absolutely fascinating was it is often said that you could just take any schmuck and train him to use a musket.
and that's why the gun became the weapon of choice.
Well,
The schmuck factor could make killers out of anybody. Be patient, be persistent, and one by one the museum will reveal its mysteries. But some can't be solved with logic. Like the mystery of the Sioux headdress.
Now, the difficulty with this headdress and its case is that it has an X number, which tells me that all documentation, if there was any, has been lost.
The dreaded X number. That means no provenance, no rational way of telling its real story. All curator Arnie Brownstone knows for sure is that it's a Sioux headdress from the late 19th century. But he wants to know if it belonged to the greatest Sioux chief of them all, the warrior Sitting Bull. In 1875, he led the Sioux and Cheyenne from their reservations to battle settlers who were moving in growing numbers into their sacred lands in the Black Hills. The Army sent Colonel George Custer and the 7th Cavalry to force Sitting Bull and his people to return to their reservations. On June 25, 1876, Custer led his men in an attack on the Sioux. The Sioux warriors overwhelmed the cavalry with a hail of gunfire and arrows. In less than an hour, Custer and all of his men were killed. The only survivor was one of the cavalry's horses. A shocked nation demanded retribution. Now a wanted man, Sitting Bull led his people north to safety in Canada.
They had a connection with Canada dating back to 1812 when they fought with the Canadians against the Americans. They were told that if they were ever in need of help from the Crown, that they would have it.
The U.S. demanded their return, and Canada compromised. Sitting Bull could stay, but there'd be no food or other support for him and his people.
The government's policy would be to starve them out.
James Walsh of the Northwest Mounted Police, sent to watch over the Sioux, became a friend of Sitting Bull.
Major Walsh kind of understood that, Sitting Bull wasn't the kind of beast that they were portraying him as in America. So he kind of got to understand him, got to know him. So he really did his best to try to keep him in Canada.
But Walsh didn't succeed. Sitting Bull had no choice but to lead his starving people back to their reservations in the United States. Before leaving, he gave his friend Walsh his most precious possession, his headdress. But was it this headdress? Nobody knows for sure. Arnie is going to try something different, hoping to get closer to revealing the secret, with help from Ernie LaPointe, Sitting Bull's last living descendant.
I think that his genes or his DNA or whatever you want to say is in me. And I have that certain special understanding of recognizing things that are his.
Ernie never knew his great-grandfather, and he's never seen the headdress. But he'll try to bring the two together by invoking the Sioux belief that the spirit of the dead can be felt in things that once belonged to them.
Hi.
Hey, Arnie, how you doing there?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Here we are. Finally.
Yeah, finally I'm looking at this. I run my hand over it real slowly, and I can feel the energy come out of it. If it doesn't belong to my grandfather, I don't feel nothing. It's like just nothing. And when I ran my hand over this headdress, I could feel the heat. You can feel the energy.
You can?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to touch it, it's just about that far. You can just feel it's really warm.
Oh.
You feel the hand there.
Yeah.
It emits this heat. And it really is an honor to see this and feel it, because it really was on his head one time.
Yeah.
I can feel it, I was telling you.
How he perceives that headdress through his sight, how he perceives the whole context of our museum and the way that we are treating these objects, all of these things
Very much.
may have come together and given him a complete sense that, gut feeling that this object is what it's reputed to be.
Maybe Major Walsh would have wanted it preserved like this. You know, because it was a gift from a friend. And maybe they're friends in the spirit world yet, you know. Who knows? You know?
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe Sitting Bull welcomed him in the spirit world.
Well.
The museum galleries bring the past to life. But down here, in the dark corners of the museum zoology department, it's a graveyard. Rare and exotic creatures through the ages, long dead, are now stuffed and mounted. And here, rubbing shoulders with them, is Bungie the British Bulldog. In his day, he was a canine celebrity.
It's not all beer and skittles being a top dog. They had to be spruced up like film stars. But these animals are big business. In exports, they earn a yearly total of £500,000.
Curator Mark Engstrom knows Bungie well.
He may have been the most famous dog, period, in the 1930s. He'd won all the champions. He'd won a large show in England where there were 4,000 other bulldogs competing against him. He was the champion of show.
The champ came to Canada in the summer of 1936 to compete in a Toronto dog show. Big mistake.
Unfortunately, there was a heat wave in Toronto one evening, and Bungie died of heat stroke despite heroic efforts to try to save him.
A champion bulldog, symbol of tenacity and strength, done in by a hot summer's day. How could this be? It's a museum secret. But there are clues in the turbulent history of the breed. The bulldog of the 1800s was taller, with a longer face. They got the name because they were originally bred to bait bulls. Butchers believed bulls produced more tender meat if they were frightened when slaughtered. So bull baiting became a blood sport. Bulldogs were bred for short legs, so a bull couldn't pick it up and throw it. And a short upper jaw so the dogs could clamp onto the bull's snout and bring them down through suffocation. When bull baiting was outlawed, aggressive bulldogs made way for more cuddly creatures. Breeders again transformed the bulldog, producing a gentler animal with the familiar face that wins hearts and championships. But for Bungie, the breeder's art had a deadly downside. One that's even deadlier for the bulldogs of today, like breeder Manny Zavoli's pride and joy, Huevos. To show how much the breed has changed, Mark compares Bungie with the bulldog of today.
There are a lot of similarities, but this is quite a bit of difference here between this.
I already see a few little differences.
In the last 70 years, actually the face in your dog's been rotated up a bit because the face is a bit shorter, and so the nostrils are actually pointing up a little bit more relative to this dog.
Why do you think the dog can change so much in 70 years?
Through intense selective breeding, it's like natural selection, but it's called artificial selection.
Well, I don't think nature plays a role at all. It's interesting because the traits that you see in specific breeds are really a wholly an artificial construct produced by humans.
Bulldogs are notorious for their bad health. Skin problems, eye problems, poor digestion, weak hips, and short lives. Most don't make it past the age of 8.
They've been bred for looks rather than for a working purpose. They do look a lot cuter, but again, we sacrificed some of their health in order to achieve that.
It's the bulldog's distinctive pushed-in face that poses the greatest threat. Over the decades, the face has become flatter, leaving the dog with a short airway. On hot days, the air they breathe has less time to cool, making them susceptible to overheating, heat stroke, and death. So a Toronto heat wave was all it took to bring down the curtain on Bungie, the British bulldog. But things are looking better for the bulldogs of tomorrow.
The American Kennel Club has been very interested in our collection because they can actually monitor the changes that have occurred in dog breeds over time. In the case of the bulldog, which has been bred to the point where it's almost an impractical dog, they actually are now interested in bringing it back to a more, its past form when it was actually a healthier dog to begin with.
Bungie is a story from the past that's changing the future. Many more wonders lie here in these halls and galleries, asking us to see beyond the glass, challenging us to take a second, closer look. And if we're patient, or just lucky, discover another extraordinary museum secret.